Hello, this is Blue Star, Defender of Equestria, and this is my Afterthoughts review for Surf and or Turf. Oh, the world building and oh, the drama and oh, the decisions. It's just, oh my gosh. Oh, poor guy. He has such a difficult choice, but it was just such an awesome episode. I really liked it. There was so much world building going on in this episode. It was just great. I loved it. Once again, I have to disagree with Dr. Wolf on this. Like, he's saying, like, all this exposition at the beginning of this episode is them suddenly saying, go watch the movie. No, I really don't think so. This is just exposition for people who haven't seen the movie, because not everybody, saw the movie, could see the movie. I think it's also for people who haven't seen the show at all. I mean, imagine this is your very first episode of the show. I mean, you won't have a clue what's going on. I mean, I guess in some ways, you already won't have a clue what's going on, but you'll have even less of a clue when it's like they're referencing something that you don't even know what they're talking about. And for me, one of the most frustrating things when watching a TV show is feeling like I'm supposed to know what they're talking about, but I don't, which is why that episode with Discord, when they specifically invoke that, was particularly frustrating for me. It's just necessary exposition, and I don't really see a problem with this. And going back all the way to the very beginning episode of the season, I didn't have a problem with that exposition either. I want to know what happened to the characters after the MLP movie. Another important thing with this exposition, they're establishing that the MLP movie is absolutely canon within the show. I think we all kind of thought that it was, but it's been established now within the show that all the things that happened in the MLP movie actually happened, and much more importantly, they're actually going to reference it, and we're actually going back to those locations. But it looks like we're not going to get to see those characters again, so... oh, that makes me sad, but oh well. But you never know. Maybe they'll all make a giant reappearance at the end of the season or something. That would be great, but probably not. But yeah, it's like, I think it is great that they went back to this location, and man, they really cleaned up the place, because it was a ghost town, a disaster area the last time we were here. And I think it was also great that some of the ponies actually wanted to visit there. And it's really great that the Cutie Mark Crusaders got to go on a mission themselves. It's definitely busted that only the main 6 go on friendship missions, because obviously with Starlight Glimmer and Spike and everything, but it was still kind of surprising. But it's like, it almost begs the question of who else is going to be called? I mean, like, what are the true secondary characters? Are they ever going to get called by the map? That might be interesting. I think it was good that Twilight went along kind of like a chaperone, but the Cutie Mark Crusaders were still basically in charge of this. I did like that even though this wasn't a Cutie Mark problem, this was still a problem that the Cutie Mark Crusaders were pretty well, in a way, equipped to handle, because the Cutie Mark Crusaders are about finding Cutie Marks, about finding who and what you are and where your role is and stuff, so they're actually good at this. I do have to also say with the Cutie Mark Crusaders that I think they could have done a little bit better job of actually helping him to make this decision, because yeah, they're definitely being very like, well, I like this place, though. I like this place. They're not really helping him decide and stuff. It's not like, what do you think? Is sort of what the Cutie Mark Crusaders should have done. Kind of reminds me of the episode with Maud and Mudbriar. It doesn't matter if you like him. It just matters that Maud likes him. If this were their decision, they know what they would do. So they probably should have tried to help Terrabar, make this decision a little bit more and asked him, what do you think? What do you want to do? Because it doesn't matter what we want, it matters what you want. So I think they still did a decent job, because in the end they did realize that what he really needed was not to choose, that he could spend time in both worlds. And it was kind of surprising that they were extremely biased during this, but I think there was an interesting sub-point with that whole thing of that, it's like where they're fighting and they're being like, it's like, no, Sequestrian, no, Harmonizing Hearts, no, I never want to talk to you again, I think there was an interesting sub-point with all that. Just because they're fighting and they disagree so strongly doesn't mean they can't be friends. It is very cunning. It appears to be about divorce. Or more specifically, kids with parents that are divorced. But not necessarily, because I guess there could be other situations where the parents aren't divorced, but one lives, like, on one side of town, the other lives on the other side of town, and I guess the kid has to pick which one to spend time with or something, I guess, I don't know. I don't really have much experience with these kind of things, so, yeah. However, I will say that I think it's really good that they were able to do an episode that's essentially about a pretty difficult and sensitive topic, but do it in a sort of a sneaky, cunning way. But at the same time, being so subtle can be a double-edged sword sometimes, because sometimes that means that the lesson may not come through because it's a little too subtle. Now, tying back into what's going on with the Cutie Mark Crusaders, I thought that that was good, because just because they're fighting doesn't mean they're gonna break up and they're never gonna talk to each other again and they're not gonna be friends. It's gonna be the end of the Cutie Mark Crusaders and we're all gonna be sad because no, it would be the end of a beautiful friendship. Just because people fight and argue doesn't mean that that's the end of their relationship. It just means that they've got something they gotta work out. I liked how at the end that they were being very mature, that they realized, okay, we made a mistake, we were both wrong, and we're not just gonna be like, oh no, it was her fault, no, it was her fault, no, it was both our faults. Oh, good for them! Because if this episode is about essentially divorce, it seems kind of strange because the characters in question are not actually divorced. They actually seem to get along and like each other. But again, tying back into the Cutie Mark Crusaders, like, just because you're divorced doesn't necessarily mean you have to hate that person. I mean, maybe you don't exactly want to be married to them, but that doesn't mean that you don't want to be civil to them and just say, oh, hi, you're looking well. That probably is a misconception that just because people get divorced that they just hate each other. It's like, I never want to see you again, and the fact that they're not actually divorced and they're getting along and stuff, it just puts pressure on the whole lesson because it feels weird, because it's like these characters are kind of supposed to be divorced, but they're not really divorced, and they actually are still together, and that's just kind of weird, but but in some ways, it's not really important if the parents are divorced or separated or whatever. The problem is with Terramar, because he feels he has to pick one of the parents. Or more specifically, he has to pick one of the worlds to live in. And I do feel bad for the Cutie Mark Crusaders. They're only trying to help this guy decide not only where to live, but what to live as. No pressure, no big deal. It's just a little decision. But as a lot of characters say at the end of this episode, it's like, nobody says that he has to choose between his parents. It's like he can spend time with both. It does feel like, yeah, you probably have to choose one to live with, but even then, you could say, oh, I'll live with my mom during the summer and I'll live with my dad during the winter or something. Again, you don't have to pick, and I kind of like that lesson. Because often in life, yeah, you can't do both. You have to pick. Like, sometimes I feel like I can't play video games and make videos. I have to pick one because, unfortunately, they both take up all my time. I can only do one. That's why I felt like Twilight coming in at the end, basically being faced with a similar kind of decision of, like, I have two things to do, but I could really only do one. It was kind of clever. I bet you this is how Terramar feels all the time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Did you get it? I almost think, did Twilight stage this? Probably not, but it would have been an interesting thought if she had. But that kind of puts pressure on the lesson too, because in that situation, she does have to pick. Sort of. There's also the third choice of, sorry, I'm too busy, I can't do either. But yeah, overall, I think the lesson of this episode was really good, and I did like it. There was a part of me that was thinking, is this lesson actually helping kids to separate parents? I think the answer is, yes, it is, because, yeah, they probably do feel like they have to pick between one parent or the other. But I think also the other lesson in this episode is that even though their parents are not together, they still love the kid. They want what's best for the child. It's not the case in every divorce, but probably often, yeah, that both parents want what's best for the kid. And they don't want their child to think that they have to pick between one or the other, that, you know, they both love them and that you can spend time with both. So I think that was a good point. And it was certainly very touching. It's like, it doesn't matter what you decide, son. We love you regardless. Yay! Oh, and of course, Scootaloo got to swim. Oh, that was just so nice. Scootaloo was just so happy. It's just a shame that she had to leave. Well, I guess part of a dream is better than none at all, so yay! And that certainly was nice, and it was nice to see all the characters as sea ponies. I mean, there's definitely so much interesting world-building stuff to think about in this episode. Because, yeah, I mean, you literally have these two species that are effectively one people, but they live in two completely different places. And they even have the ability to go back between the two. The Pearl itself, the fact that they've split up the Pearl and they've given it to basically all their citizens, including the kids. It's kind of an ironic thing when you think about it, that this Pearl was so powerful and valuable that we wouldn't let the main six have it during this big crisis. But now we're just going to cut it up and hand it out to everyone, including all the kids, and we'll just let them do whatever they want with it. And it was really great to come back to one of the locations that we saw in the MLP movie. It's kind of weird that the show references the MLP movie so much. It's always felt like the MLP movie has existed outside the MLP universe, but I'm glad that that is not the case, that it's very much going to be a part of the MLP universe. I secretly hold out hope that we'll get to see some of the characters from the movie in the future, and maybe we will, maybe we won't, but yeah. In some ways, there was so much more to talk about, but my brain is definitely malfunctioning, and I could definitely use a vacation. This is one of the few times I would almost like the princesses to use their authority to say, I'm taking a day off, because I'm a princess, and I say so. It was kind of an interesting running gag, but it kind of got tiresome after a while, because it's like, come on, Twilight, you could just take a day off. It'll be okay. We won't tell any pony. So overall, this episode was really good. It's like definitely, oh, the world building, and it was so awesome to see the Cutie Mark Crusaders go on a mission and make friends, and like the magic of friendship is spreading everywhere. Yay! It's just so nice. I did really like this lesson because often in life, yeah, you gotta pick, but sometimes you don't have to pick. It doesn't matter which side he chooses, his parents both love him. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was really good, and I really hope that we have more episodes like this and learn more about the world that's outside of Equestria. Yo! So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong, and pony on. Blue Star out.